For those of you wondering, this is what Studio 1.0 has kind of become. As we know, Studio 2.0 is gone, considering I just moved, and 3.0 is still, well, not even up yet. So, for those of you who are thinking, how the hell is he doing this? Well, it's become a lot of storage. Speaking of that, does anybody want to buy a gaming chair? $60, great shape. Anyway, let's talk about an album today, guys. Let's talk about the new Soulfly album, which came out last Tuesday. I'm a little late on this, but in the midst of the move and everything like that, you can kind of understand why I'm a bit delayed on a couple of these. So Savages is following up an album that I really enjoyed from the band. I really enjoyed Enslaved, which came out a couple of years ago, and the video that I did regarding that album kind of complements that feeling rather nicely. Now with Savages, Soulfly kind of knew that they had a bit of a niche going on here. They were able to combine death metal with a little bit of thrash, even throw in a couple of things that they've done previously in their career in order to create a pretty nice and subtle mix. And in doing so, they've also been able to kind of kick it a little bit and kind of notch a little bit to some death metal and other styles of metal favorites of old. I mention this because I now have a job for you guys to do. First off, listen to the album, specifically the track Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla. If that doesn't make you think Chris Jericho is coming back to the WWE, I don't know what will. For those of you who don't know who Chris Jericho or the WWE are, then Google it. But there are three songs in the chorus that are mentioned, or in the bridge, whatever you want to call it. I want you to tell me in the comments below what those three songs are, and the artist. Yeah, this will be kind of fun. So how about this album? What has Soulfly been able to do with Savages to kind of amp up what they did with Enslaved? Well, for one thing, Savages definitely has a length to it. There are tracks on here that eclipse the 6, 7, and even 8-minute mark, which definitely should raise a lot of concern from some fans. However, I'm here to set your mind at ease that this time is very well spent. This isn't an album where it feels as though the time on these longer tracks is wasted with a lot of unnecessary ambience, either that or a lot of unnecessary ideas that kind of just didn't have the opportunity to be cut, or they just were, you know, unwilling to cut them. These are all aspects of the song that definitely feel as though they belong there, and it doesn't disrupt the flow of the album. In fact, if anything, it keeps it going. This is an album that, through its length, is able to also introduce a lot of different subtleties. They're able to introduce subtleties of thrash metal, introduce subtleties of death metal, a little bit even of the supposed deathcore or metalcore genre, with some of the semi-breakdowns that you hear throughout some of the songs, while also kind of tuning themselves to some different thematic ideas well enough in order to keep this album really, really kind of varied, not to mention also very interesting to a listener. Now, because of this, you might wonder, well, this almost sounds like a match made in heaven for you, coverkillernation. What's the catch? It's a very, very good question that you ask me, because it's kind of hard to find a catch in this album. I think sometimes whenever these longer albums come out, one of the problems that does occur, even though the longer lengths does offer a little bit of variety and can really boost an album up, it sometimes can weigh it down. I feel that the longer runtime on this disc does work to its advantage during a lot of different moments. However, in some moments, I believe that this is one of the principal reasons the album feels a little bit bogged down and top-heavy. There's a lot of great things that happen on the first half of this disc, and a lot of great music to hear. However, whenever you look down at your playback device and realize you're only 5 or 6 tracks in, and that you still have another half of an album to go, it can sometimes become rather endeavorous in order for you to continue. Soulfly doesn't bore you or anything like that, don't get me wrong, and Savages is definitely an album that is able to maintain a little bit of your attention. However, as an overall gesture, as one where it's guaranteed to keep you really primed and honed into it, well, that's one that doesn't exactly have a guarantee built in with it. So what I'm saying is that this isn't an album where each and every individual that listens to this work, or at least a healthy majority, is going to continue onward past that 5-song limit. It's going to be one of those things where perhaps they'll come back to it later, if at all. And it's kind of a shame, because the second half does offer a lot of great music also. It's a well-balanced disc that has a lot going for it. However, I do think that the little bit of length does kind of hurt it in the long run. Musically speaking, this is a disc that definitely calls so many different influences that it becomes a virtual smorgasbord of different metal thought. Now, we all know that the Cavaliers and etc., all of the different collaborators on the Soulfly project are definitely from different backgrounds well enough where they're able to kind of expose this a little bit more. Not to mention, they're able to bring a lot more than your average metal band to a disc. Plus, they've been doing this for a long time, so they've definitely had a lot of opportunity to allow time itself to shift and make them a better band, drawing from all of these collective influences. Where I feel that some people may have a bit of a problem with this disc is that, while it does build on Enslaved a little bit, I'm afraid that some of these people might not feel that it's enough. Whereas others may feel that, well, damn, there's a noticeable, huge, destructive difference. Overall, for me, I think that this album has a lot going for it. However, I do believe that because of the shortcomings that I've presented, this is going to be one that's going to be seen as kind of middle of the road, but probably a little bit closer to veering towards the upper echelon of their career. After all, there were a couple of albums from the middle part of the 2000s that, well, a lot of people weren't exactly high up on, and those that are, defend it to the death. So overall, I think that this album is one that could narrowly make the top 25 list. It has just enough variety and enough of a real punch to it to really grant a lot of different feelings that would push it over the edge. I really like the riffing on this disc. The riffing definitely feels very solid and very organic. This isn't something that felt very forced. It felt like this was a process that grew naturally and really developed some pretty decent music. So for now, I'm going to have to give this an 8.25. And if that seems like that might be too low to make the list, considering the myriad of great releases that we've had thus far in 2013, don't fret. Because everything, and I mean everything, gets revisited at the end of the year, and everything, and I do mean everything, has a chance to make the list, even if it doesn't seem like numerically it should. So hey, take a listen to the album, and see what you think, because I want to know also in the comments your thoughts on this disc. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know. Oh yeah. Gaming chair, $60. Come on. I know somebody wants this. Don't make me ship this to Europe, because I don't have that kind of money.